this video is the one where we're finally going to do the checkpoints. It is a bit of a more complicated video, so there's a few things that I'm going to introduce, such as singletons, and they do get a little bit abstract, so try and follow along. If you have any questions, well, you can ask me in class or pop a comment below and I will try to get back to you. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the actual scene. So this is going to be an area 2D, and of course it's going to have a collision shape with it. We're going to pop an animator in there and a sprite. I'm going to rename this to be save point, and we'll save this straight away into scenes. And the collision shape, I'm going to set it to be a rectangle. Now for the sprite, I've imported a sprite. There's two actually you'll need. There is save point animated strip and save point saving animated strip. So the first one that we're going to use is the save point. So I'm going to pop that up into there. And the animation, it has 9 horizontal frames. So let's go ahead and just zoom in on this. We'll set up the collision shape here. I'm actually going to pull it down a little bit, and that should be good. Just a bit more like that. That way if you manage to just skim the top of it, you will skip it. And then we're going to go to the animation player and create a new animation. This is just going to be called checkpoint. Now this animation is 9 frames long, so I'll set it to 0.9 down here. Down here, I mean just here. It's also going to be a looping animation, so we'll click that. And then on the sprite, there's a few things we need to keyframe for this because we're going to actually be changing the sprite. So we need to keyframe, first of all, I'll make sure that's back to there, the texture, and then the number of horizontal frames, so we'll keyframe that, and then the frame number, so frame number 0. I'm going to click the down arrow on that and then just click this key 9 times. That should bring us to the end, and I can hit play just to make sure that it's working, and that looks pretty good. So with that done, we're going to make a new animation. This one's going to be called saved, and then we're going to go ahead and change the sprite up here, so we can put that other one in and click the keyframe on that. We're going to change the horizontal frames to 3 and click the keyframe on that, and then for the frame down here, I'm going to click that and then reset it back to 0 and then click it 3 times. I'm going to also change this one to 0.3, so I can hit play and make sure this one is looping. Hit play, and it's kind of looks like it's spinning. That's what that one does. All right, so we've got our save point done. We'll save that. We are going to just add this into our scene for now. So we'll go to the world and we'll go to save point. Oh wait, that's my sprites. So scenes, save point, and I might put one here. And I'll put another one over here. Okay, so I've got those 2 save points and they're going to be working shortly. So the default sprite, we're going to go ahead and put some code on this shortly. But first what we need to do is set up a what's known as a singleton. This is going to be a thing that we'll use again in the future, but what we need to do is go ahead into project settings. Actually, we'll need to create the script first. So down here in scripts, I'm going to right click and create a new script, and this is going to be called game_stats. Now I'm going to go to project settings, auto load, and the path. I'm going to select game stats here. It should give it an automatic name and just leave that, and then click add. Now what this is going to do, if I double click it, this is going to load this script every time we run the game. So it will load the script up, it'll do things, it'll be something that is stored in memory. If you're familiar with object-oriented programming, it's essentially a single instance of an object that we can change. And we're going to add a few things in here. So we're going to have a variable called, sorry, not a variable, a method called get time. We'll just put pass in here. Now I have already written this, so I may just load up the other one that I've got and take a look. Okay, so we've got, no, we're not doing the time in there. That's going to be something. Oh no, we will use get time in here. Okay, so this here is the code. And I'll just, you can pause it on here, but I'm going to go through this. So it is best for you to kind of listen to this explanation. Don't just copy it down. This won't take long to explain. So what we've got at the top here is the game start time is the os.getTicks in milliseconds. Now getTicks is the number of milliseconds that has passed since the game has actually started running. And so at the start of the game, we're just going to record whatever that is. So after the game's loaded and it's ready for the player to play, there might be a few milliseconds that have passed. So we're going to store how many have passed there. The current spawn is going to be equal to null. So that means that the current place that the players have spawned, there is none. The function reset, it's going to reset the current spawn back to null. It's going to reload the current scene, and we're going to set the game start time to the current amount of milliseconds that have passed. This function we're going to use later on, and you'll see why, but it's going to check to see whether the player will reset. So if the current spawn is equal to null, so maybe they've died before they even got to the first checkpoint, then we're going to reset the game, which will also reset the time, because they shouldn't die but then have a time penalty when it's the start of the game again. Else it's going to just return false. So that's going to be a check that we do whenever we get hit by something. This function here sets the spawn, so it accepts the spawn point, and it will set the current spawn to whatever spawn point we pass it. This one here gets the spawn point, so it returns the current spawn point back to where we called it. And then this last one here, you don't actually need this at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to comment that out. That's going to be for another video when we put in a timer. This one is just going to be focused on spawn points. So this code here, I'm just going to bring this into my other game stats and paste that in there. Okay, so now we've got a few things that we can use. So let's go ahead and go into our save point, and we're going to add a script for this. So save point. We don't need the ready function. Actually, we will put ready on. We'll say $animationPlayer.play checkpoint. So the first thing it's going to do is set up that checkpoint thing. And then we're going to have the process. But now we're going to type games, oops, not that, if game stats dot get spawn is not equal to self. So get spawn is going to return one of these spawn points. Self refers to this particular one or this instance of it. And if it's not that one, then we're going to set the animation player to play checkpoint. That means that if we pass another checkpoint, this one will reset. And then we will have the actual signal. So when a body is entered, we're going to check down here, if body dot is in group player if it's in the group player, then we are going to say game stats dot set spawn self, and also $animation player dot play saved. So now I can test this. So I can go into my game, I'll run this scene. I put those things in there. So you can see that these two checkpoints are just playing the normal checkpoint. I pass that one and it's set to save. There's no death at the moment. I get to this one and it saves and the other one turns off. If I was to go back to this one, it would switch between them. Okay, so we've got these checkpoints working here. So now what we want to do is we want to do two things. We want to make it so the player can reset the game at any time. So that's really easy to do. We're just going to go into the player script. Actually, we may as well go into the world script. And this world script here, I'll take that away. And we're going to say if, did I do it there? Yeah. If input.is action just pressed, and we're going to put a reset button in. We'll bind that in a sec. Game stats.reset. Now we're not using check reset because we want it to reset. So if the player pushes the reset button in there, you know, halfway through the game, it is going to reset. It's not going to give them any time, it's just going to reset. So let's go ahead and map an input for this. We'll add a new one. Oops, reset. Add that. And then I'm going to use the R key. Okay, so let's go ahead and test our game. So if I just run around a bit, I set that checkpoint, I hit R, and the map resets. Cool. So that's working. I am going to fix this in a future bug thing so that it starts off zoomed in and you have to push Z to zoom out, rather than it starting zoomed out and you push Z to zoom in. Okay, so what we've got here is the player can forcefully reset the game at any time and it will work. So lastly, what we need to do is make it so that when they die, they go back to the current checkpoint. So this here is going to look like this. I'm going to open up a trap. So I'll open up the blade trap. And what I need to do with this one is I need to find the signal and say body entered and go on like that. So similar to what we've done before, if body.is in group player. Now you can take this code and just kind of copy and paste it into the different areas. If body.is in group player, then we are going to say, we'll just print player dead, and then we're going to use that game stats check reset. If game stats.check reset equals false, then we will say body.global position equals game stats.get spawn global position. And that's it. We're not going to reset the time or anything like that. That'll keep going, even though we haven't done the time. It would just keep going in this case. So this is on the blade trap. And I will go to world. Now if I touch one of those blades, if I touch one of these blades right now, it doesn't actually do anything. Well, that's, unless that's the wrong scene that I've got there. Let's have a look. Blade trap, that one, on area 2D, body entered, if body dot. Oh, I know why this, okay, I know why this has happened. It's because if I go to world and go to open this up, because with these spinning, what's a blade trap? That must be a different one that that was my demo one, my mistake. This one here, spinning blade, I'm gonna just put that same code in here. So body entered, I'll just copy and paste the code. This was the one that I actually ended up using. I'll just grab the code from that and put it into here. All right, so this should now work. I just used the wrong scene. Okay, so if I just go and step on one of these, it should that one did work. Okay, and now if I go and get hit by it, it should reset me back to that checkpoint. So before it reset the whole scene when I didn't have a checkpoint there. So if I just do this, I'm not sure why the one down the bottom's not working. I'll check that in a sec. So that one resets the whole scene, but that one, now if I die with that one, it sends me back to that checkpoint there. So the checkpoints are working. If I go and do it over here, and then I go and die, it puts me over to that checkpoint. So the checkpoint system's working. The reason that this spinning blade is not working is confusing me. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't have a signal. That is because this one here is the actual scene, and then this is a local one to the scene that I made afterwards. So it's been changed, but it's not hard for me just to say body entered here and connect that up with not that. That was a mistake. Normally you wouldn't have to do this. In this case, probably what I would do, and I'm just testing it, I'm just going to delete this one because we're just kind of doing some testing, and then at the end we'll go ahead and design a level, and we wouldn't have to do that because it's already set down here. The reason it didn't come through is because I brought it through and then made it local, so any changes I made to this didn't affect the other one. But there we go, we've got the checkpoints working. In the next video, we'll look at setting up a timer that will reset when we push the R button to reset the game, but it won't reset when we check or just die and go back to a spawn point. Now, to get these other ones working as well, that same code will work. So if I go ahead and look up spike trap, and it already has the signal there, so I can paste that code straight into there, and then the spike trap will now work. And if I go to I haven't got falling spikes working yet, or is that actually the falling sprites? No, I haven't got those working yet. The spike trap, so if I put these in here, spike trap does work. Spike trap should work, I think. Spinning blade should work. Spike trap. Yep, let's see if spike trap works. And if it doesn't, I'll fix it. Yep, so that works. Oh, I've fallen down and I can't get back up. There we go. And then if I stand on this, it should take me back to there. There will be some other things that we do, such as add a little animation and a sound effect, so there's a slight delay between it. But since this kind of game, we're focusing on making it like a speed running kind of thing, then we're not going to make anything that really irritates the player. By every time they die, it takes 30 seconds to get back. Now that didn't work. That is the swinging trap. So I actually did have it working before, but I commented it out. All right, so those are all working, and in the next level, next video, we'll add a timer and put that up on the display, add a little HUD and a few other things, and we'll go from there.